So this is mine and Bryce's project or speech. It's over the purpose, process, and usefulness of budgeting your household income. Uh, Budgeting your household income is a very important thing to do if you would like to become more fiscally responsible with your money and be able to live more comfortably.
Budget is something that most of us use in our daily lives, whether you know it or not, you probably do. Sometimes I get sick of the calf and decide to swing through the cookout drive-through, and sometimes I change my mind back to the calf just to save a little money. For example, uh, whether you are whether you have a financial planner, you use online banking to budget, or you just keep a mental note. To an extent, everybody has to budget their money.
Everybody knows what a budget is, but this will give a bit of a more magnified view of how to budget and how useful it can be financially. Budgeting can seem fairly simple at surface level. If I were to just mention it, someone may say, oh, budgeting is just watching how much money you spend. While that may be right, there's more to budgeting than just that. When you have a lot of expenses, it can be a bit hectic and overwhelming, so some people don't take it as seriously as they should. However, this is a very financially irresponsible move that can be easily avoided by just taking a little time out of your week to sit down and create a detailed budget of your spending. But before we talk about the details, let's talk about what budgeting is.
So there are two definitions in the Merriam-Webster that are most fitting to the economic definition of budgeting. And those are a plan for the coordination of resources and expenditures, and the amount of money that is available for or required for the assigned, or required for or assigned to a particular purpose. In layman's terms, it's your income minus your expenses. A household income budget is broken down into specific bills or payments such as your phone bill, water, electricity, car payment, gas, groceries, house payments, all kinds of insurance, and the list goes on. Budgeting your income can look different depending on a lot of variables, such as where you are in life, how old you are, whether you're single or married, or how much money you make per year. If you're someone who just got out of college and live in an apartment by yourself, you may have a bit more, you may be a bit more conservative with your budgeting. Whereas if you're a married man, a 65-year-old man who used to be a doctor and your wife was a lawyer, your budget may look a little bit different than that of a college graduate.
Budgeting is a process and it's something that takes time. You may not enjoy the work that it takes to budget your household income, but I promise you'll enjoy the product after you make a budget and stick to it. An easy way to keep track of your money is a 5 step process that shows you how to create a budget. First, you have to set your goals. Without goals, you're just moving through the motions of budgeting and doing it just because. Set a goal such as I want to have X amount of money by the time that I turn 25, or I want to have my car paid off within the next 3 years. When you make these goals and hold yourself accountable, you'll begin to gain this financial freedom that everybody wants. Secondly, you need to record your expenses. Think of as many things as possible that you normally spend money on and think about how much you spend on those things. Whenever you spend money, record it or keep the receipt until you can record it. Think about uncommon costs as well, things that you may not always spend money on, but more like every once in a while. Thirdly, you got to record your earnings. This and the second step kind of go hand in hand because you'll be subtracting your expenses from your earnings. Consider all ways that you can gain money, not just your paycheck from work. Things such as gifts from family, friends, some investments, garage sales, or selling items online, just to name a few. Next, you'll want to crunch those numbers by taking income minus expenses. Hopefully, once that's done, you won't have a negative number. If you do end up with a negative number, however, that brings us to the final step, step 5 of creating a budget plan, which is to fix the weak spots. This could entail taking out expenses that you don't use very often or that you don't need as much as you thought you might. One example of an expense that I've cut out personally is Netflix. I used to watch Netflix a lot until I couldn't find any more shows that interested me. Once I weighed the cost and the benefit of Netflix, I decided it wasn't worth it anymore. You want to be able to not just break even with income and expenses, but you also want to be able to put money away and to save and make profit off of budgeting. Someone who's very frugal with their money will be able to come away with more savings than someone who spends money on a whim if they like something. It can also be useful down the road to see where your budgeting habits have gotten you.
Your budget 10 years from now will more than likely be drastically different from your budget now. And if you keep those records, you can track how far you've come since the start of your physical record of your budget. It's also useful to know where to spend your money and where not to spend your money. Another thing that you absolutely need to steer clear of as much as possible is taking money out of your retirement funds, such as 401ks or 403bs, because they can be taxed heavily when you withdraw money from them. There are things in life that are necessary, and there are things in life that are more comfort or hobby type thing. You really just need to ask yourself what the bro.
I can edit it if we need to.
Oh, you really just need to ask yourself what the things on the expense list are that you need, and what are things that you want. Once you can decipher between wants and needs, whittle out some of those wants that aren't really necessary. Of course, you can always break your budget and spoil yourself a little if there's something that you want. However, the more often you stick to your budget, the more money you will save and the less you'll spend. And you'll overall be happier knowing that you're more financially responsible decisions and planning ahead for your future.
And then this is our works cited page at the bottom, and we'll attach this video later.